My intention is never to hurt anybody through my decisions, but a lot of times it's perceived that way.
I wanted to explore a very powerful topic, the choice to be child free.
I always imagined myself that the normal way of life is to grow up, get married, have kids.
I'm sure there are many women out there who are confused about this decision.
Breaking these stereotypes, actually, you have to break them first, and then only you become accepting.
Most people in our society who don't have kids are not really by choice. Even though your parents are well wishing, they may not always make the right choice. Between you and your husband, were you always aligned on the choice to be child free?
You cannot make somebody not sad. You cannot make somebody understand it in the moment that you want them to understand it. I think most arguments or most discussions in marriage are middle ground.
I think that's the thing people forget. A child is also a human being. So it will come with its own set of the same challenges. Indra Nooyi once said women cannot have it all.
You can have it all. You just have to decide what you want to have, and you can definitely have it all.
Hi. So hello and welcome
Hello.
to Decoding with Jaslin. So, for the audience, just to give an introduction, right, today I'm thrilled to have a very close friend of mine, Cefi, here with me. We have known each other for almost 14 years now and pretty much seen life together, I would say. We were kids back then, so yeah, we've seen a lot of ups and downs and interesting situations together, I would say. So, the reason I wanted Cefi to be here is because I wanted to explore a very powerful topic on female autonomy, the choice to be child free. Now, empowering women is a topic which is very close to my heart. And while I myself am a mother and I really cherish that experience, the ability for women to live authentically to their own self is something that is a cause which is very close to my heart. And Cefi is someone who's really been an embodiment of that life. She's she is path she's forged her own path in everything that she has done, and that is why I wanted to have this conversation. I'm sure there are many women out there who are confused about this decision, and it's easier to get access to the other part, to speak to women who are mothers, because that's the more followed path, I might say, and to be able to get access to women who have chosen to forgo motherhood is not something that everyone has in their environment. They're not people, so many people available, especially in our country. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation and basically hear your insights and perspective to sort of help anyone who is exploring, making a choice about motherhood. So with that, Seth, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into the core aspects of it.
Okay. I think thanks for the introduction. I mean, let me start there. And I just realized when you said 14 years, it's been that long actually that we've known each other. So I always cherish my friendships. So let me start there. And then to introduce myself, I have, as of now, I'm working as an HR, and I'm working with an organization for past 3 years. And I have a total experience of around 12 plus years in HR itself. And prior to that, I did my MBA at Christ, and that's how we met each other. When you were doing your bachelor's in Christ, we were roomies, and that's how we know each other. Growing up, I grew up in Saudi. My parents are from Kerala, and we are very traditional, conservative people in general. I mean, I would also relate to myself also traditional, conservative, up to a point where I realized that I could actually break those traditions and conservativeness after a point. But yeah, I think that's just to give a background. Malayali Christian family is where I come from. And I have a sister who is abroad and has 2 kids, just to set the context that and she's my only sibling. So We are poles apart because she has 2 kids and I have no kids so far. So I think that's about me. Other than that, I think we will explore me through the podcast more than anything else.
Yes, thank you so much, Seth, for introducing yourself. So be honest, right? When I first asked you to be on this podcast, what made you say yes? Other than the fact that I'm an amazing friend, I'm going to count on that. What made you say yes?
I'm also a bit confused while answering that. The first thought that came to my mind is, oh God, who's going to see this podcast? I was telling you some time ago also, right? Like, I didn't think of anything else. I didn't even care about the content, or I didn't care about what I'm going to say, or what is this podcast about. The first thought that came to my mind is like, who's going to see this? I didn't have any other thoughts other than this. And you can understand where that comes from. That comes from a place that, okay, if I'm really going to put it out there, it's not that people don't know. By now most people know about it, but when I really declare it to the world, I still have a little bit of, I'm not very sure if that's going to go the right way, if I'm really going to rub it in people's faces, it's going to look good. All of that is what I thought through. But other than that, I didn't really give it much thought. It was only the fact of, whether it's going to hit the wrong people in the wrong place. But I also did think that, there are a lot of, if I look at reels or YouTube videos, or I see a lot of these debates, and I really enjoy seeing two perspectives. I really like talking to you because you are a mother, and I know from the longest time that you always wanted to be a mother, and you are a mother right now. So I love speaking to people who are not exactly like me or who do not think like me. So, from all of these perspectives, what I really learned is sometimes it's good to have more forums where different perspectives are shared. So, that's the only aspect about it that I thought, okay, how does it matter if people think whatever? It's just going to benefit one person or the other, just to understand the diverse perspective. It's not to like tell that this is going to work for you or this is not going to work for you. It's just to say that, okay, it's a diverse perspective. It exists. That's all I wanted to look at.
That's really thoughtful of you because you chose to help the wider audience over yourself, because I mean it would have been very easy for you to say no. Even when I asked you and I told you the topic, there was a part of
Mm.
me which was wondering. In fact, if you remember, I told you think about it because I
Mm.
didn't want you to say a yes or a no right away. I wanted you to think about it
Mm.
because coming from the same society as yours, I know how the society operates, and I understand as women how we are almost trained to think about what we want to say, right? Whether we want to say it or not, is it worth the effort of saying it versus maybe the sort of opinions or comments you have to hear post that. I hear you, and I'm so grateful that you still decided to go ahead with it, because even in my career now, I have a lot of young women who work with me, and I hear them talk about this. I hear them wanting to explore this topic. I hear them wondering if they want to have a child or not, if they want to get married and things like that, right? And like I said initially, there are not a lot of women out there to even give them that perspective, right? Most people in our society who don't have kids are, I would say, are not really by choice. It's probably biological or whatever. So to have that perspective out there is what I felt like that it will help a lot of people to understand. And yeah, like you said, it's diverse parts. I've always wanted to be a mother. I love being a mother. I love my child so much, and it's amazing. But on the other hand, I also understand that it is a lot of effort, right? It is something that it's like a lifetime project you take on with no holiday, with no breaks. You can be sick, you can be you can be dying on the bed, but you still want to cater to your kid. So it's not something that can be forced upon. You will it's a lot of mental it's a lot of mental pull through as well. So if you're it's something which should be very common actually. If you're not ready to take it upon, don't take it upon yourself. But unfortunately that's not the case, and that's why I wanted to hear your perspective. So tell me what what is the one thing sort of that you're excited or even nervous to talk about today? Are there specific aspects that you were like, okay, this is something I would be like, that'll be very cool for me to share?
I think if I tell that aspect, you're going to ask that question for sure. But maybe you already have it in your list of questions. I think the one thing that I'm only worried about, or thinking through while I'm going to speak about, is the parents aspect. Or in my case, it's my mom. It's a factor that at no point in time my intention is never to hurt anybody through my decisions. But that doesn't mean that I take decisions that keep other people happy. I want to be happy in the process. So my intention is never that, but a lot of times it's perceived that way. So I think that's the only factor where, if you probably touch upon the fact that, how did you go about convincing your family? Because I have not yet done that. Or maybe I wouldn't ever say that I have ever convinced anyone. Um, or I have we've not even reached close to convincing. So that factor alone, I feel, is a little bit difficult because of the fact that it involves people that I'm really close to. So I think that's the only thing. Otherwise, I'm not worried about. I don't care about the rest of the world. The rest of the world can do their shit. I can do my shit, so it's okay. I'm not supposed to say shit, right?
That's okay. That's all right. Okay, so I think let's go back to your childhood, right? Tell me.
Hmm.
I mean, I know, but yeah, let's tell the audience about your childhood and your family environment, and what and societal and your upbringing basically. And what were your early impressions of motherhood? As you said, like I always knew that I wanted to be a mother, right? So, or felt. So, what were your early impressions? Like, walk me through your childhood and your environment, sort of.
Okay. I think I had a very protected, very mm, cared for sort of an environment as a child. Like, I don't think I'm sure a lot of people who decide to not have kids are coming from a place of, or at least the people that I've spoken to have seen really negative environments, not a positive environment, not a great upbringing for them, all of that. And mine is exact opposite. I've actually had a great childhood. In terms, when I say childhood, of course, with the factor that the previous generation had a certain way of bringing up their children, whether it is about being extremely strict, it's all about studies, being disciplined, and all of that, which I don't think is something that I believe in right now. Disciplining your kids and, being very strict with them or shouting at them, all of these things I don't believe in right now. But from where our parents came into picture, I didn't think that was like out of the world. I don't think that's something that was unique to my family. So if I look back at my childhood, I would always say it is a very protected, a very nurtured, very caring environment that was there. In terms of both my father and my mother, both I call them Papa and Mama, so it'll be easier for me to address them that way. So both Papa and Mama was always there. They were both working. So I really enjoyed the fact that they were working, because me and my sister got a lot of alone time on our own. We could do all the things that we wanted to do. At the same time, we had their presence. It's not that they were not there. They had a specific job that would make them come home by evening and they could spend time with us. So I think it, from a childhood perspective, um, I think this is what I can think of. The only thing that I would probably always think from my childhood until now, or even if I had a child, I mean, let's assume that I had a child, the thing that I always kept telling myself is that I wouldn't be too strict to my child. I wouldn't, lose my shit if if something small happens. Like, all of these things is what I always felt, which was normalized at that point of time for the families at that point of time, to have, you know, spare the rod and spoil the child. That's what it was called, right? So, which was normalized at that point of time, is something that I kept telling myself. I didn't know that it was going to a direction of not having children at all. I never thought so at that point of time. I always imagined myself that the normal way of life is to have grow up, get married, have kids, that's going to be the normal way of life. So I would always think that, I would be the gentle parent, is what I thought. Now, if I had a child, maybe I would be the complete opposite, could possibly be completely different from what it is. Other than that, I think that's what I took away from my childhood, because rest, I think it's mostly positive, and I've always had an environment where um I had available parents. Now when I come to available, I don't know, emotionally available, how much, again, I would go back blame it on the generation, maybe because I just want to make it the better way to say it. uh, I don't think they gave so much importance to being emotionally available, but it was more about, a stable environment, giving you financially everything, giving you food on the table, being there for you, spending time with you. All of that was taken care. But emotional availability is something that I was, I don't think that was considered as a very key aspect. As long as I'm giving you everything else physically, you should be emotionally strong. You should be able to handle yourself. So I think that's another thing that I took away from my childhood, that, you need to really be emotionally available for your children also, is something that I took away from, I think, from growing up, or, from my childhood days.
If I double click into that, right, you spoke about being not being emotionally available. Like you said, it was pretty much the norm back then, right? That was parenting at that point, that you basically cater to all the physical factors and you are assuming that, the emotional factor is catered to. Are there specific
Right.
instances which led you to feel that way? That okay, if I ever have a kid, I'm gonna be a gentle parent, I'm gonna be emotionally available. Because I don't know how many people think that much back, at that age.
Okay. So I
On
think it's more thinking back. Like I don't think
okay,
while I was a child, I thought, okay, when I become a parent, I'm going to be on those sides. It's mostly thinking back, saying that, okay, this was lacking, this was lacking. If I ever become a parent, like while I was, it's not like when I was a child, but I did think that, emotionally available, not at all. I don't think I was mature enough to think about emotional availability. But being strict, being very stern with you, screaming at you, chappals going around, I don't know what all was flying around in the house. All of that, I was absolutely sure that, this is just not going to work out. But there was a phase in my life, but where I completely flipped also, probably in my college, BCom, MBA, I was like, I turned out pretty well. So I think that's the way like kids should be brought up. Like there was like a year or two that I probably kept saying that, I turned out pretty well. Like, I mean, everything that my parents did for me, like, I think that's exactly what a kid needs. So what's wrong in it? But then again, I flipped few years later. It's like that's not the way. Just because somebody turned out well doesn't mean that, you just need to like go by that particular way of bringing up your child. Now again, not putting, I always want to call that out, that, not putting blame on a certain generation or my parents for that matter, because I feel like they did the best that they could in
of
whatever
course.
resources that they had.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
I
no,
think
no
that was the norm
instances.
back then.
Yes,
And
and
that was the norm. I don't think
and
your
it, like,
parents
if
or
I
my parents were
discussed,
going against,
correct, and if I
something.
discussed with like my friends also, it was not like, oh my god, I'm the only one being treated this way. I never, so I think, now if children are treated that way, they'll be like, am I the only one being treated this way? So I never felt it at that point of time. It's just that, probably it's also coming from a place of that, I didn't realize at that point of time I was very sensitive. I am very emotional. Of course, I don't put up that front in a lot of in front of a lot of people. Understand, I'm really close to them, but um I like, it's the small things that really matter to me, like even a raised voice, even, probably slight changes in, mood. All of this I can sense very easily, and, I think it's all coming from a place of, uh, hyper attention to all of these details, because, okay, what if I screw something up and, it's not going to work well for me? So I think it's coming from there. But yeah, all in all, I feel I can't remember specific instances as such, but it's mostly these are the things that I could take away from childhood instances.
Got it. Did your family have like traditional gender roles? Because back then, most families had. But I know that for your case, both parents were working. So, were you? how were the gender roles
Oh,
defined?
surprisingly, yes and no. Like in terms of a lot of families that I knew, whether it was my cousins, whether it was friends that I knew for a fact that the girls in the family were eventually going to get married, or, probably education was not the key thing. But I have not even heard that once from my parents. My parents were very, very focused on ensuring education is the key. Like I don't know what it's going to reach, whether it's going to like make you on top of the world or anything of that sort. But you need to study, study, study when you're in school. When you're probably in your bachelor's, you need to ensure that you have your best marks so that you can get your master's. And then when you get your master's, you need to get a job. That rigor was always there with my parents to ensure it was like drilled in me that there's no option other than study. So from that aspect, definitely not. But also from the aspect of I feel you are a girl, you need to do this. I don't think I've heard any of these sentences in my family, probably because we were two girls. And I think there was no question of a boy coming into picture and spoiling the dynamic in any way possible. So that also didn't come through. Now, if I look at my parents specifically, I always felt that my papa was very, very involved in home chores. So whether it might be like when we got up in the morning at 5 o'clock, we had a very early bus for school. Papa was the one who would get up, ensure that, we are dressed up for school. He would ensure that, there's milk given to us, ensure that we are dropped at the bus stop, always ensure that there's a little prayer said before dropped at the bus stop. So it's those small things. Plus, whether it is cleaning, washing clothes, ironing. So all of the vacuuming, cleaning plates, cutting vegetables, everything I would see him so involved. And that was not the case with most of the families that I've seen. Also, because most of their mothers were not working. But even in families where mothers were working, I didn't see that sort of an involvement with a lot of fathers. The only one thing that my mama also used to keep complaining was like, he would never cook. So the cooking aspect was always on mama. Like, even though all the associated stuff was done, the actual cooking aspect, my papa was like, I just cannot do cooking. Like, I can do everything for you, but my cooking is something that's not going to work. So it could probably be some extent of gender roles. I will not completely say that. I don't think anybody can fully say that they cannot cook. I feel like everybody can cook. Any human being, if they put an effort, I think they can cook. So that's my understanding of cooking for me. So I feel that's the only thing that he didn't get involved in. But otherwise, I feel like as compared to a generation that we grew in, there was hardly any gender roles at home. At least that's what I feel.
Got it. And growing up, what were your aspirations? What did were there any role models? What were your aspirations as a kid?
I didn't really have any aspirations while I was a kid. Like when I was like a kid, I was not thinking that, I just want to be um in an office, doctor, like I want to make money. I didn't have those sort of thoughts, to be very frank. Um, I was studying because I was forced to study. I felt half the time I felt like if I don't get good marks, mama is going to be furious and she's just going to be like mad. And I think half my life, almost three-fourths of my life, until my MBA, I studied for my parents. I studied for mama specifically because I was like, I cannot take her wrath of, not getting good marks. It could be even probably one mark that I've lost also. She'll just lose it on me. It's like, what is the point of sending you to school? What is the point of sending you to college? It used to be like crazy. So I would probably study for her. But then once I hit MBA, I don't know, maybe I am a late bloomer. The realization hit me that, okay, I need a job right now. Like I have to like put in my effort. So that's when I was like, and we had campus placements at that point of time. So it really hit me. And I was in a class of really smart folks in my class. And I was like, if I need to get a campus placement from these set of people, I really need to put in my like the best if I need to get through, is what I thought. So until then, I really didn't have that, goals, aspirations. I need to get there. I need to get this done. I need to be this person and all of that. Until then, I didn't know. But I did know once I did my MBA, yes, I needed to get into HR. I needed to like get a job. I needed to get a decent job. I need to grow in the organization. I need to grow in my career. All of this did happen. On that was on one side. This is on the professional side. On the personal side, I wouldn't say it's an aspiration. I would always think from a very young age that I wanted to find love. I felt that was something that was very important for me, because being loved and loving was something that was very important to me, even now, for that matter. Finding love, settling down, getting married, having children, those typical things. I wouldn't still say that, goal aspiration level, but I would always see that in the future. Like, okay, that's where I'm headed. Get a job, get married, have children. This is the far off or the long term goal unknowingly I would have set for myself. So, yeah.
Understood. So let's then move on to the next stage, right, of marriage. You also had an unconventional marriage in the sense of, the age gap, or the typical gender, age that is considered across the world, I would say, right? So tell me about that. How has it been? And yeah, tell me about it.
Um, okay. I think, you know what? Most of the first thing that comes to my mind is breaking these stereotypes. Actually, you have to break them first. Like, I mean, in your head, you have to break them first. And then only you become accepting. And because I know for a fact that when I was in college, I would totally be like, oh my God, the boy is 1 month younger than me, a week younger than me, 1 year younger than me. I can't even think of it. So from there, so these are the things that change. I feel like over time, you broaden your horizon, you broaden your thought process. You're not narrow minded anymore. So I feel like all the stereotypes that you have in your head can be broken. It's not something that um, is stuck with you forever. So I feel in my head it had to be broken first, that it's not at all possible, because when you really like somebody, or when you fall in love, probably I should put it that way, with somebody, I don't think I'm like constantly checking, okay, what's age, religion, caste, creed. I mean, I think you're the best judge of that person. I mean, this part of it, you don't really need to check all the boxes. It's just, I feel it's more feeling, more compatibility, more comfort. And I feel these are more important things than all the other checkboxes that the society has given to us, and somehow put in our head also that this is exactly what you need to follow. So I feel first it came from a place of breaking that. And I didn't consciously break that. I like, okay, I need to start breaking the stereotype. No, it just happened because I got the comfort, compatibility, and the right person at the right time. All of that fit for me, and hence I didn't even think through, like, okay, age is a problem. I am getting involved with somebody who is younger than me. But again, the problem is, if it was only your decision, then it's easy. But then the whole society, your family, your their family, all of that comes into picture. So you cannot completely ignore it until it's just your decision. It's fine. But the second you have to involve everybody else, then it becomes about reasoning and explaining and convincing. And then you realize how stupid it was in the first place to even think that age was a problem, like when you start convincing others. So I feel first is definitely to break your thought process or your stereotype that you have in your head. And the second is do it only for the people that you love. The convincing aspect of saying that it's not such a big deal. You just need to like really accept the fact that there are other factors that are more important than just these societal norms that are there in picture. So yes, it was difficult. I wouldn't say it was easy. Uh, it was definitely difficult. I took my time. My parents took my time. Family took their time for a lot of different aspects. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just have to accept it after a point of time. And I think this is the place where I would probably ask you to maybe answer than me. That I think you had it your own difficult path where you had to convince for a lot of different factors, whatever it might have been. I mean, I don't want to touch upon unless you are comfortable to do the same. But I mean, I've always wanted to ask this. I don't know if I've asked this all to you. Did you ever have a stereotype in terms of I should go only for a certain kind of person, a certain kind of religion, a certain kind of age, a certain kind of category of person, all of this. I mean, did you have any of this, and did you have to break it in your head, like how I said I have to break my stereotype, or you were always open?
To be honest, I wasn't. I don't think if someone had asked me when I was 23 if I would marry someone outside of my culture, I don't think so. But I think, given the experiences I went through, I realized that this is not what matters. I realized what matters is having a true partner, right? And that is eventually, what I decided. And I think over a period of time, I also realized that at the end of the day, even though your parents are well wishing, they may not always make the right choice for you, and it's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from a place of what they know to be best for them, right? So
Mm.
they have been raised to think. And to be honest, back in that generation, things were very different. I mean, if a guy from one culture marries a woman from a different culture, it was almost like this was superimposed on her. But it is no longer the case. So I get their perspective as to why they were, skeptical and things like that. But I think I realized that their perspective is coming from their journey and it's not necessary. And I think over a period of time, they have also realized that, in fact, they've even seen the advantages. Like at Christmas, I'm always home, right? I don't have to choose. So those are things, same way for Diwali, I'm there. I don't have to choose. I don't have to feel bad that, oh, I'm ditching my parents, which I'm sure, like when you are married in the same culture and everything, you have to make a choice. I don't have to do that. So I think that's something that they realized, and and it's about being accepting, right? And we both are very accepting of each other, and I think they saw that, which was something I believe new to them, right? For them, they've always seen the guy being like dominant, and the guy saying, "No, this is the way we do it in our family, so you have to follow this." But I think they realize that that's not this generation is no longer like that. Not all the men are. There are still men out there like that, but not all of them are. So I think they realize that, and now, as many times my father has told me that, oh, like you have. I don't think I would have been able to find a guy like this for you. Like you made the right. Like it's good you went ahead and found, because it's difficult. I mean, given even though we are 2025, it's not easy to find an equal partner, right? I do believe that my set of friends, including you, are, I don't know if I want to call ourselves difficult women, but we are not the traditional, frame in which women are sort of put into. So I think it takes a lot of strength for men to marry you also, right? Because even then they have to step out of those frames, right? And it takes a lot of unlearning and learning for them as well, right?
Mm.
And
And
so,
I feel
yeah,
it's
I
more
think.
difficult for them as compared to us. Like, I feel like we have been brought up in a certain way that, okay, you listen, you be good girls, and you listen to your husbands. And like, so there's that conditioning that is there that we are trying to break. And then we are becoming all these difficult women that are there. So it's already like, I think we have a little bit in ourselves to be really adjusting and nice and sweet and all of that. But for them, they have been brought up in such a way that, live your life, do whatever you want, you are the king of the world. And then I feel for them it's even more difficult, or I feel I applaud them more. And sometimes I feel it a lot of women say that, why are men getting a lot of respect and appreciation for just doing the bare minimum. But I feel it's not bare minimum sometimes, because I have seen the households that they have come from. I have seen that, they have not been asked to do any work at home, or probably uh, not really be equal partners and all of that. And then they are doing it. It's even more difficult, I feel, for them to actually come out of that mold. So I like completely agree with you saying that equal partners is something that is required more than anything else in this current generation. I don't think anything lesser can be acceptable for any of us.
Yeah, correct. And yeah, I agree with you that, I mean, even though if I look at it technically and very practically and logically, it is basics, or it should be common sense. that of course
Mm,
you should
mm,
help your wife, of course, you
yeah,
have to be a partner. But these are
yeah,
easier said than done. The
mm,
society that they were raised in wasn't the same, right? So yeah, I think I get you from that perspective. Having said that, see, because I married into a different culture, I feel there are a lot of advantages I have in terms of at least, I feel like my horizon has broadened a lot. Okay. And
mm,
disadvantages in the sense sometimes I don't know the right things to do, right? I'm still learning.
mm,
I feel like I'm always learning. And
mm,
I and that's that, like, again, like I said, it's really helped me broaden my horizon. I'm understanding cultures to a lot more depth, I feel like, right? I'm understanding heritage, and there is a lot of like I said, there is a lot of pros and cons that come with marrying
mm.
in a different culture. Have you ever felt that from an age perspective?
Not
Nothing
at all.
really, right? I wouldn't assume
Not
that
at
because
all.
anyways you are like Malu Christians, right? So I don't
Yeah, I mean,
think
like, because culture, religion, and all are like bigger things, I feel. And
correct.
it's like, okay, I would say it's 1.5, but it's 2 years, is what Benji would say. So, I mean, it's hardly a age difference. If you really think of it, I feel, I would say only from the fact that, there are some things I make fun of him saying that, okay, this definitely a generation gap between us. Like, I don't understand these things that you're watching. I don't understand these things that you're, you know, uh, more interested in, the way you speak, the way you, I mean, it's mostly to make fun of than I actually do understand, because it's not actually a generation gap between us. There is no
No, I
generation
think
gap
two
as
years
such.
is hardly.
Yeah. So,
Got
but then
it.
there are some small things that I don't relate to, or he doesn't relate to, and all of that is definitely there. But I think that's more people oriented than age.
Perspective.
Yeah, age
Yeah,
oriented.
makes sense. So between you and your husband, were you always aligned on to the choice to be child free, or how did
Okay.
that come about?
Yeah, I think we have spoken about it, but the surprising thing that you're going to hear right now is no. I mean, if you remember what I said, my goals, or, like, eventually on the horizon, what I saw was get married, have children, not child, have children, and, have a job, have a happy family life is what I always thought. So for me, I feel like I need some outside inspiration, or, um, some sort of a trigger for me to, like, think outside what I'm already doing. So I think that was Benji for me. Okay, so he was probably the
So just for
person who
everyone's
even
perspective, Benji is her husband. But yeah, go ahead.
so um for the longest time I didn't imagine myself in any other I couldn't think that how a family could be complete without children and all of that. So it was out of question to even think that thought. Like, I didn't have that thought. I didn't even think that it was right to think that thought. I didn't even think that that was something that we can actually think about. It's not something that is a choice. It's something that is a normal way of life. Once you get married, you need to have children. Once you have children, then their children gets married. It's just a cycle of life. So I feel I came from a place of, again, conditioning. Like the stereotype about age, the same thing I would apply it here. Like, I have always been conditioned to think that this is the right way to go about life, whether it is from the religious aspect. You would always hear that, go forth and procreate or create, or whatever was mentioned, go forth and, multiply, and having more children is a bigger blessing. Multiple times that's been mentioned in the Bible, and your parents have always instilled that in you, your society has instilled in you. So for the longest time, I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that, there was no thought in me at all until I met Benji, and he was on the extreme end on saying that, it was like, it may look like, I am a convert, but I didn't know that I wanted something. I would probably put it that way. But I am a convert, to be very frank, because I didn't know what would be the benefits of not having a children, or is that even a possibility for me to even consider. Until I met Benji, I don't think I would have, or maybe if I would have married somebody else, I would have even had children. Like, because that perspective wouldn't have been opened for me. So now that this perspective opened for me, because in our initial conversations that we've had, and he was on the absolute sure end of really don't want to have kids. I feel it's a big responsibility. And I told him then and there, I don't think that's something that I would be okay with. Like, I feel like the right way of life is to have children. And we've had a lot of back and forth on this. And then a lot of times we used to sit down and think through. And the more we sat down and thought through, what we understood is that I am coming from a place of just having children because you have to have children. I don't have any reasoning. I don't have any other need or what do you call, like maybe the instinct to have be a mother or any of those aspects that you probably have a child for is not where I'm coming from. So the more we sat through, the more we discussed. Of course, it I think most arguments or most discussions in marriage are middle ground. You never reach a place where one person moves extreme and the other person moves the extreme end. It's always like once we discuss and then we reach a place, it's like Manji was like, I'm okay to have a child. I mean, with you, I'm okay to have a child. I mean, it's perfectly fine. Um, we'll have to figure it out, how we do it, and all of that. And I was like, okay. That's the first time probably I even considered thinking, okay, let me look at the extreme end. If he is willing to move to my end, let me look at the other end. And then I did start thinking it. I mean, until then, I was not even willing to open up that perspective of myself. And then in our further discussions, I completely understood myself. Like, I didn't have the clarity then, as I have clarity right now in this moment, in this second, while I'm speaking to you, the clarity I have versus the clarity I had then was like almost 50-50. I was definitely like, would it be a right decision? Would I regret it? And all of that was where I was coming from. But over time, I really understood that this is the way of life that like the best judge of what we could understand, like me and Benji could understand, was that do you feel like anything is missing in our life right now? Do you feel like there is something that will help us fulfill what we don't have right now? Or is there something that is an add-on? It could be probably materialistic or non-materialistic. It could be a child also. But is that need there to fill a gap or a void? Or do you feel that you want to bring somebody else to add more love? And we never felt that need. So we reached a place where we decided that, no, I don't think that's required. And once we made that decision, I feel it was a very positive journey internally. Like, it could be the small things. Like, I started like thinking of a couple of major things. Okay, one, going back to my uh, emotional space that a child takes. I don't have that kind of emotional space to give to a child. I feel like the lesser, the closer circle that I have, especially when I say closer circle, people that I really have to care about or, probably be there for them and all of that, I feel that that gives me more peace of mind. Like, I don't think I can take the entire responsibility of it. Second, financially, I don't want to invest, I would rather travel. Travel is actually my passion. And that's been my passion for the longest time possible. And I really want to explore places. And I don't want a child to have probably be the priority where I keep my dreams aside and I invest, which is required and you have to do it. I don't want to come back from office and think about my child. It could be something as simple as that. I want to think about myself. I just want to relax on the couch and I don't want to do anything else. I could be doing nothing productive and that keeps me happy. The same thing for us. We find a lot of time together and every weekend we kind of go exploring. We kind of do some of the other activity and that's what keeps us fulfilled. And with all of that, over time, and at least for the past 4 or 5 years, it has come to a stage where, like I'm extremely happy with the decision because my biggest problem, even now, what I've told myself is maybe 20 or 30 years down the line, a lot of people say this to me that you're going to, like, when you grow old, what about the children? There's nobody to not look after you. I don't think anybody anymore says look after you because you don't expect the children to look after you. But don't you want them to look back at you and, like have children and grandchildren and all of that? And I said, no, I really don't feel the need to have that. And I feel a lot of times I've heard also the fact that you're being selfish by not having children. And I feel both are selfish acts. Having children and not having children are both selfish acts. Because what works for you? I feel like not having children is a selfish act because you want your mind space, you want your life to be the way it is, and you are enjoying that life. You having a child is also selfish because you want to nurture a child that you wanted to do. It's a need that you had that you are fulfilling. So I feel both are not selfish in any way, but at this point of time, the only thing that I've told myself is 20, 30 years down the line, if I regret it, if I regret this decision that I've had, which probably as a kid I always thought that I'm going to have family and all of that, I'd be like, it's your decision. Live with it. That's all. I mean, I don't think rather than probably going with somebody else's decision or intent of, adhering to the society norms and having a child and then regretting and oh, okay, because everybody told I had a child. I'd rather regret something that I made a decision about. So I'm perfectly fine. Like when people say that, I have it in my head that it's okay. I can deal with it, is what I feel. So yeah, I wouldn't say long story short, long story long. That's where I came from, as compared to I think a lot of stories that you will probably hear where people were already dead set on their ways in terms of not having a child versus reaching here. And I feel the one thing that I have attracted right now, when you started this podcast, you're told that, it's very rare to see people around you not having children. Somehow, I don't know, it's because probably we are not having children. We are in our mid 30s. All the friend circles that we are having, surprisingly, are uh, either who are child free by choice or at this point of time don't have children. And somehow I feel uh, that gives additional reassurance to your decisions. So I feel like it's no longer the case anymore that you see very less people. I feel it's moving in that direction because most people want that emotional space and space for themselves. So yeah, I think that's where it is.
Yeah, what I meant when I said that, I think, see, I do have, I think, other friends as well who have been child
Right.
free, who are child free by choice. But I still think it's a very creamy layer
Very
or a
less.
very,
Yes, yes.
it's a very tiny fraction of the entire population. And I
Yes.
do know, like you said, I think a lot of women end up having kids because that's the norm, right? Like, I know I wanted to have a
I
kid,
would have
right?
been one of them.
Yeah, so
For
I,
sure.
I think correct. So right, so that's the norm, right? You're just trained to think like that. You don't even think of the other option, right? And I think that's why I wanted to understand your thought process. And I think that would be very helpful for women who are probably just doing things because that's the norm. That's what they've been conditioned to think. You get married and you have a kid, right? Um, while it should all be a purposeful choice. Like I had a kid very purposefully. I pestered my husband for it, right? I want to have a kid.
You know that?
So, so that's the thing, right? So it should be a purposeful choice, but for many it may not be, and I think that's a very good perspective to have. So we reached that you have both came to a discussion, and you finally sort of between the two of you at least made up your mind, right? Then how is the next part of the journey, which is I think the most tricky part of the journey of informing the family and sort of setting that base to the people around you, right? That this is going to be our life, this is it, right? How did how did you approach that? How did you navigate that? How did that go about?
Actually, we didn't have a plan. That's something we didn't have a plan on how we're going to, other than just our parents. So my mama and his parents. The only decision that we took, which I think was the best decision, is any kids related questions that comes from my family, I deal with it. That comes from his family, he deals with it. Like it cannot be each other dealing with each other's family because that's just going to make things worse. Like anything else, like it's not just with kids. I feel like any decisions or any discussions with regard to families, your individual selves should, I mean, the partners should take care of it. So that decision is the only thing that we took, and I think we really kept by it. I mean, like we ensured that all the discussions that was there, like with my mama, I always had it. With his parents, he always had it. Even if there was like some bit of overlap, like the best example is always on Mother's Day when we try and call like our mothers. It's actually like a joke now. Like every year when we go to call our parents or mothers for Mother's Day, I'll tell Benji's like, let's see which out of our mothers will tell this time. Next year, at least give us the bless. I hope I can wish you the same on those lines. Okay. So, and it always happens. Every Mother's Day, like, next year, I hope I can wish you Mother's Day, which is a jab at us, but I feel it's more for me because it's Mother's Day. And I'm like, okay. The first few times I laughed it off. Second time, I'm like, so Benji takes over. It's like, if it's his part of the family, it's like, just leave it, okay? Just don't, I mean, let's not speak about it, sort of a thing. And then, like, it's erased off. So that's how we dealt with it. But our individual conversation, I can talk about my conversations more than I would not want to touch upon how he dealt with his conversation. So I'd probably, with my mama, I think it's still an ongoing conversation. Like, I don't think the conversation has ever ended. I think probably around 5, 6 years ago, I think I had my, or 4, 5 years ago, I had my first conversation where, like, she kept telling about the child thing. So I kept, like, not speaking about it. And I realized I mean, it's not the way to handle it. It's not like, I don't want her to give her a false hope, that, probably I'm trying on those lines. So then I spoke to her. She was very emotional. She started crying, and she ended up saying things like, this is not how I brought you up. This is not the values that I brought you up with. What mistake have I done? That, I mean, it all went to the fact that, religiously, societally, values wise, this is all wrong. So, and it was more about an emotional impact. And I kept saying that, why is this so emotional for you? It is not something has happened to a child. I am not having a child. While I understand it at the back of my mind, I kept like trying to make her understand. But then I realized some things take time. You cannot make somebody not sad. You cannot make somebody understand it in the moment that you want them to understand it. And that I understand only now. Okay. In that moment, I was also like, why are you getting so emotional? Why are you being so sad? Why do you have to make such a big deal out of it? That's what it was going through my mind. Of course, I'm not saying all of this to her. I was trying to calm her down. I was trying to, like, you don't have to cry so much. You don't have to. And this did happen a couple of times. Like, this did come up, and, we discussed it a couple of times, and it didn't go very well. She asked about, are you having an issue? Is Benji having an issue? And is it to do with that? Are you not telling me? Why would you not want to have kids? Um, all of these questions on, what went wrong, what is really the issue, and all of that. And I was like, it's just our decision. We don't want to have children. And I feel like sometimes you will not understand it. And I did explain, like, I think most of the time that I kind of explain this is when she brings up the topic saying that I think you will not understand the love of a child, how it is to be a mother, which I understand. I mean, it is okay. I would not understand because I don't have a child. But then I also tell her, it's the same children that you complain about day in and day out. Like, about, how many times I've told you this, I've taught you all of this, and you've not done all of this, and all this disappointment that you've had because you've had a child. And she's like, that's such a small part of your life, part of my life. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a small part of your life. It's something that you have to have with you throughout your life. Like, whether your kid turns out to be great, kid turns out to be a disappointment, kids having a bad day, it's throughout your life. You are totally invested in it. And I can see that every single day of your life, you are asking about it, questioning about it. And that's an investment that you've made. And I don't want it. I don't want to keep worrying like you, and, keep thinking about what my child is doing, why my child is doing this way, why is she not turning out to be this way. Or, of course, there are happy moments, so I'm not saying that there are no happy moments, but I'm just basically trying to point it out every time she brings these things up. The good thing is, over the years, I think our conversations have become more of a debate than being an emotional exchange within each of us. So I feel like now if the topic comes up, I have my reasons, she has her reasons. We really have a good debate I mean, I wouldn't say a good debate, okay, a decent debate as compared to what it was earlier. So I think the best thing that I have learned is you got to give people time. You cannot expect people to just change overnight and, believe in all the things that you believe in. And the same thing I tell my mama also, like, you cannot expect me to believe everything that I believe, that you believe in. Like, even the smaller thing, I think we have had conversations on how we pray, how we're spiritual. It's so different from how our parents are. Like, my mama would spend like weeks or, days or hours in front of Shalom and in church and all of that. For me, it's just 5 minutes in the morning, and I feel like I am like, and I can have those conversations with God at any point of time. That's how I feel more connected to God, and I want to do that. But my mama still says, at least say a rosary, at least read the Bible, go to church. I was like, it's okay. I mean, like, I feel you have instilled your values. Now it's up to me how I take those values and make it my own. Like, you can't continue to impose those values. Yes, I can speak a lot about it, but I feel the biggest thing is always time. Like, it's not the conversations that I've had that helped anybody change or, perspectives change. Now, there is an additional aspect to it: relatives, family. Um, they try to intervene. I feel like I humor them most of the time, like by saying that, have a kid. Yeah, I said, yeah, sure. It's like, I mean, it'll be like these random conversations. So I usually humor them because I don't think I owe them an explanation, like how I owe my mama an explanation. I feel like I owe. Probably I don't, but I feel like I owe my mama an explanation. But the others, I feel like I brush it off, or I just walk off, or I probably like, yeah, sure, sure. By next year, I'll have it. Like, it could be these silly conversations that I have because I don't have the energy to uh really involve
Explain
them
to
in
them.
my decision making. Yeah, so that's how I dealt with the people around me. And I think the last category would definitely be a couple of my colleagues, friends, very less, close friends, very very less. Like, maybe one or two I could probably pick and point who probably tell me is like, why don't you go in that direction, like, don't you think you'll regret it, and kind of like advise me. And I think the funniest thing that I've always seen is like my colleagues, like in one of my previous teams where I had mentioned this, I remember them constantly cribbing about their kids until I told them that I don't plan to have kids. And they changed the narrative completely on me. They're like, you will not believe what it is to have a life with children. And I'm like, I know it's both positive and negatives, but you don't have to change the narrative to convince me now. Like, I know that, because I think the best example for me is my sister's kids. They are like my kids. Like, I think the one thing that people don't understand for child free adults or couples are that it's not that they hate all kids. Like, okay, there are people who do that, who have that impression also. I'm not completely generalizing, but for me at least, I love my niece and nephew. They are like, they are my whole heart. Like, I just love them to bits. Like, the way I love them, I don't think I can love another child ever. Like, even if I always used to say that if I ever have a child, like Danny, who's the first child, he's always going to be my first child. Like, that's how much I love them. Like, I have had I think my brother-in-law tell that to me. It's like, the way you are with a child, I would never imagine that you would not want a child. Like, it's that sort of an attachment that I have to them. So it's not that I don't understand children, or I know I don't understand the pain of having a children and the happiness of having a children. Of course, I will not know exactly about like being a mother, but I do know the positive and negative. So you don't have to change the narrative on me on saying that, suddenly it's like, it's such a blessing, and they change the entire conversation. I told them, it's okay, calm down. I mean, just because you're going to change the narrative, I'm not going to change my decision. So you can continue to crib. I enjoy listening to you cribbing. Like, it's a venting out system, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not like anybody hates their children. It's just that, it pacifies them, helps them to calm down, or helps them to kind of vent it somewhere out. It's not that they don't like their children. I understand that. So yeah, so these were all the different levels of people that were that I had to deal with. And I feel it's been fairly not bad. I mean, I other than for the one person that was really bothered was my mama. Like, she alone was what I was worried and sad. To the extent that I did think one day, I was like, I mean, should I just have a child? Like, I really did think that. I was like, should I just have a child and give her a granddaughter, a grandson, and just get done with it? Because I feel very emotionally taxed when, somebody that I really truly love is worried or sad. And I cannot get out of it very easily. So because of that, I did really think that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to compromise my happiness for anyone. I feel like we all have done it at some point of time in our lives, and I don't want to do it anymore in my life unless and until it's an absolute requirement. Like you once said, never say never. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
see.
I totally believe that.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
feel
I
life is
did,
too
I really
uncertain.
did take back from you that never say never thing. Like, I was like, not a bad thing to think about. Like, maybe you should never say never.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, so if there is a person who is contemplating about being child free, what are the things that you would advise them or tell them? What would be your 2 cents for them?
The first thing is I wouldn't advise them on anything. Like, the first thing to know is it's your personal choice. Having a child, especially as a woman, it is completely your personal choice because you're going through so many changes in your body. And I think, again, you would be the best. Like, after I answer this, I would want your answer on this also, because I feel that's how we can close the perspectives. Like, I am from a child free perspective, you are with a child. So I feel like it should be a personal choice, especially for a mother, because the body goes through a lot of changes. Um, Physically, mentally, you have to go through a lot of changes. Um, if you are with a partner, then your partner dynamics go through a lot of changes. So you have to take into account all of these emotional, mental aspects, along physical aspects, along with, do you have the necessary things to bring up a child? Do you have are you financially well to bring up a child? All of those other aspects you have to think through. I feel like the only reason for which that you should not have a child is definitely not the societal pressure, not your parents telling you to do it, not your partner, husband telling you to do. You can reach a decision definitely, but it should not be out of force. It should be out of the fact that, okay, I want to have a child. And I feel that's where I feel you can be good parents and, you know, nurture your child in the best way possible. I also believe, on the other hand, you cannot wait for everything to align to have a child also. Like, I think maybe you can say that more. Like, I have heard um people who don't want children to say that, we don't have enough money, we don't have the right job right now, we're not settled enough, we are at the peak of our career, all of those things. So if you really want to have a child, I feel you can align everything and then wait to have a child. The only question is whether you want to have or not have, and then plan your life around it. If you want to have, biologically, are you healthy? Go to your gynec, do all of the necessary things. If you do not want to have, and I feel there is one very important middle um, set of people who are there right now, who I know, a couple of friends who plan to freeze their eggs, who cannot make their decisions. I feel that's a great way to of course, it's costly, it's invasive, all of that is there. We've had multiple discussions with people who are on that path. But if you really cannot make a decision between the two, I think that's a good way to go about for now, so that in future you still have a choice to make and you still can make the decision in the future. So I think freezing the egg, because that's something that I really did consider at one point when those initial discussions were happening. I was like, am I really sure, am I not sure, on those lines. So I feel like these are the three decisions. I feel it's more to do with, you have to think through, you have to make a decision for yourself. Why you're making that decision for yourself? Are you being influenced by other people, or is it your personal decision? If you're influenced by other people, does it have good reasoning? All of that is what you'll have to think through while you make a decision. And I think in the current world you have a lot of options, so you don't really have to stick to one path at all. The only thing is, don't fall for societal pressures or what. I mean, I feel it's easier for us, me and you, Jazz. I think we were speaking about this, right? For us to say this because we are coming from a place of privilege, I feel. Whatever said and done, to some extent, we are coming from a place of privilege where we have access to a lot of people who are not having children, people who are having children, people who are having different kinds of parenting, all of that. But from a very typical background, it's not the same. So while I know that, I'm still saying that, don't fall for the society pressure. It's not worth it. But otherwise, yes, it can be your conscious decision. And I think it'll be worth it. Whatever decision you take, I feel you can live with it. It's definitely fine.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with see, having a child is basically adding one more person into your life, right? And it's the
Hmm.
same way. I think that's the thing people forget. A child is also a human being, He's not
Hmm.
just, a doll that you are like raising. So it will come with its own set of the same challenges. When you
Hmm.
marry your parents, your siblings, the same set of challenges you will have with a kid also, right? There will be agreements, there will be disagreements. Just, I think there is a added factor to it that the child is something you have birthed, right? It is literally your own, cells outside of you, right? So that I often say that, and I say that to other mothers, like, I felt that you don't know love till you have a kid, because I suddenly felt like I don't love anyone else. And I'm not saying that I don't love my husband or I don't love my parents, but the intensity with which I love my kid, that's just something else. So I think I sort of get it when people say that you will not understand the experience of having a kid without having a kid, because it is surreal. It is really, really surreal. It's almost, it's miraculous, right? Like, you're just two people, and then, like, out of this cell, an actual human being with opinions and voices and everything of their own is just sort of coming out. So that's there, but it does take a lot of physical toll on you. Like, I'm a workaholic, and to be honest, I think even during my post pregnancy, I really missed work. I always say that if I ever have another kid, I'm going back in 2 months. There is no way I'm going to be sitting around, because it drove me mad. I know that it drove me mad, and not that I didn't love my kid. I love my kid, but it drove me mad to be
But
just
work is your first love.
probably, I don't know. No, I mean, see, the thing is, work gives me a sense of purpose, right? Doing something productive. It doesn't necessarily have to be work, but basically, especially in those initial months, all you're doing is, giving
Feeding.
milk to the kid, feeding, making him to her or him or her to sleep, and then cleaning the poop. So it's basically
Yeah.
just those three things. I remember saying to my
Very
husband initially,
productive.
I feel like
Hmm.
a cow, right? Because initially I don't even think the kid cares, right? I remember 2.5 months I went to my parents' home, and my parents, we are a loud family, okay? So my parents, my sister was also there, and I remember everyone is trying to take her, okay? And
Hmm.
that was the first time I realized she knows me. Because the only person with whom she would calm down was me. Okay. But till that 2.5 months, I thought I'm like a cow. She doesn't care where the milk comes from. As long as milk comes, I'm okay. As long as someone is cleaning me up, I'm okay. As long as someone is putting, because the child does not even react to you, right? There's no smile initially, right? They smile over a period of time. There is that personal, like, personal bond is formed through eyes, through facial expressions. That is not there
Hmm.
when a kid is born. So you're
Hmm.
just doing stuff almost robotically, right? And it's a lot of, like, every 2 hours they have to be fed. You don't get sleep, you can't sleep. So there is a lot of effort. So I do agree with you that you have to think it through. Even though mine was planned, I always say that I feel like I didn't think it through the whole way, right? Because there are so many challenges that come as they grow up. So that's why I said it's honestly like taking a full time project from which you will really not get a break. Whether you are sick, whether you are depressed, whether literally someone is dying, right? You still have to cater to your kid. I remember having a funeral in my house, and my mom was like, "Get your child," and I'm like, "What? Are you crazy?" I then have to, like, take care of her food. Like, she's not gonna be hungry. She's a kid. She's not gonna be like, "Okay, I will not eat now because there is a funeral." She's not. It's just not the kind of maturity so it does take a lot from you. So I totally agree with you. It should be a personal choice, and that's basically where it all should come from. Now, moving on again to the second point, right? If there are women out there who have made their choice, but maybe their biggest worry is communicating, because it is a big thing in our society. We at least come from very involved societies. Everyone has an opinion about everything. starting from the parents to everyone, right? How would you advise them to tackle that?
I think I'll go back to what I learned from my experience. I think communicating is okay, but you'll also have to give them time and space. These are for the people who are important in your life. The rest of them, don't bother. I would just simply say don't bother, because are they going to come and take care of your child? Are they going to, be there every single second? Because I know for a fact that the other people, like your parents or your siblings, they're really going to be a part of your life, an integral part of your life. They're really going to be there for you when you have a child. So I wouldn't like go ahead and argue with them and say that, how does it matter to you? So I would really have reasoning with them and, speak to them, give them time, and all of that is what I would do with them. But the rest of them, I feel like it's not worth the effort. It's not even worth the, I feel like this conversation me and you have had a lot of times. I think we've reached a place where pick your battles. If
I
you
agree.
feel like, this doesn't matter, this person like, there are some instances where even I lose it even now, saying that, maybe a woman is being put down, or somebody in the family, a man is getting more attention, or I will just speak up. I will just say that, that's not right, this is not right, and all of that I'll say. But sometimes I also make a decision to say that, okay, it's not worth the effort. Are they going to change just because I say this one sentence? Are they going to change overnight? They're not going to change. If it's for somebody who might actually change and consider it, I might put the effort. But otherwise, I feel everybody else, don't waste your energy on explaining and telling them this is the right way. I think one of the best examples is to look at parenting itself. I'm sure you would have gotten a lot of advice on how to bring up your child, whether it is from your family, whether it is from your outsiders, whether it is even from people who do not have kids also. Like, it's from everywhere. But then somewhere you have to draw a line and decide, okay, I am only going to listen to what I think is right. And maybe for the family members, I will either ask them to shut up, or I'll probably say that, I don't think this is right. I'm going to explain it to you why this is why. And that's about it. The rest of it, you just have to think that it's noise and then avoid it. So I feel it's the same thing for any decisions that you take in life. The important people, yes, keep them in loop, tell them, give them time. Don't expect them to change overnight. The other people, I don't think it's worth the effort to even sit and explain and, make all of their, change all of their opinions about these things.
That's well summarized in terms of how to handle them. Do you think your career has influenced your decision in any form?
Surprisingly, no.
You think
I
it's
feel
it's been
I
a
feel a lot of them, again, like, I think I am an unconventional in the unconventional. Like, in a lot of things, like, I'm a convert, child free. I'm a convert. I don't think, I feel like if I wanted to have a child, I could have a child. I don't think it's like, I'm not saying it's an easy job. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that I am not worried that my career is going to break down and, I'm just not going to do anything in life. And I don't think that's the case, because maybe I have seen a lot of women do it, and I feel like it's such a way of life. And I feel I am also of the opinion of you. Like, if I ever had a child, I don't think I can take a long break. It's not that I am workaholic, you know that about me, right? Like, I really like the balance in work. Like, I don't cannot work beyond a certain set of hours and all of that. But I also do not feel um like I feel like you can do it if you really invest your time in it. And I feel like just because you go back to work doesn't mean that your entire career is going to fall apart and all of that. As long as you prove yourself, you can continue to do that. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it, I feel career is not everything. Like, it's a part of your life. I feel just like every other aspect, like maybe you're making money, your personal choices, your people in your life, everything is a part of life. I feel like it's not the only thing. Like, you can bring it up if you put in an effort, you can like get back on track. And I feel it should not be such a difficult thing to do. And I didn't really give it much thought in the direction of career as such, because I feel I go back to the same thing that I told you earlier, right? If you really want to have a child, then
you
I
should
feel
have.
everything else will align. You
Correct.
cannot wait for everything to align and then have a child. Of course, you have to be prepared and ready. And I'm not saying nothing should be aligned, but I feel like if you really have the passion and need to have it, you will make things work for your career, for your other aspects, and everything else, you will make it work. So I feel like career was not such a thing that I ever thought of saying, okay, if I have my child, it's going to be a career related aspect or career related issue that I'm going to have, and that's why let's me not have a child. It was not a major factor. Of course,
Factor.
in the ranks of things that if you've
Once
seen
you
that,
start doing the list,
yeah, if
you
you know,
got
if you've seen that meme, there's like a 50-page reasons of why I don't have a children and all of that. Okay, there is so many reasons why you cannot not have children. Okay, but the same way that you can have children, also there'll be 50 reasons that will be there, but it's not on the top of the list. The top 2-3 things are not definitely like my career will get affected. It's not something that I thought of.
got it. So, see, typically a lot of women, I think one of the things that women always discuss about is the ability to have it all or not have it all, right? Um, Indra Nooyi once said women cannot have it all because she believes that at points you have to pick and choose. Right? And I sort of agree with that there will be regrets, there will be things you would sort of miss. What does it mean for you once you took this choice? What does it mean for you?
I feel like I read this article. Okay, it's actually Benji's boss had written this on LinkedIn, and I read it and I really liked it. And it's not from a child-free person. It's from this. She's actually the HR head right now for SAP, if I'm not wrong. And it's Benji's boss. So since I follow her, I read through this thing that she wrote, post that she mentioned, and she wrote this thing about some 10 years earlier, she wanted to have a second child, and she was very very sure, she and her husband. But a lot of people around her, including her family and parents, have said that it is going to affect your career, it's going to really impact you, you're going to be set back and all of that. But she was very sure that this is what she really wanted in life, and she went for it. 10 years later, she said that that was the best decision that she made in her life. She is doing great in her career. She's doing like perfectly well. And the biggest thing that she was told at that point of time is like, you cannot have it all. And then the ending of that post, what she wrote is, you can have it all. Like, you just have to decide what you want to have, and you can definitely have it all. So I don't believe that you cannot have it all, whether you're child free, whether you're having a child. It's just you have to be sure of what you want. Only then you can have it all. So if you feel like this is the life for you, I feel like this is the life for me. I'm happy just the way it is. And I hope 20 years later also my life looks the exact same way and I would be definitely happy. So I look back and I was like, okay, somebody just said that, without a child, I'll not be happy. And I'll be like, see, I can have it all. So have it all is different for different people. And I feel it's 10 times more difficult for somebody who is a mother having it all. It's not as easy as it comes. You have to, balance it out. And that's where I'm definitely sure Indra Nooyi came from. Like, you have to
Correct.
balance so many things.
Yeah.
But if you really, really are passionate about anything, whether it is about your career, about having children, about this is your personal goal that you've set for yourself, you can have it all if you put your heart to it, is what I feel. So I think that's my takeaway for it. Like, I don't believe that women cannot have it all. They can have it all, probably with a little extra push or with a little extra more effort, but definitely that's possible.
What is that makes a lot of sense, right? Because even I am someone who believes you can have it all, but I get where her perspective is. You will still miss
Yes.
things. That's what she means, right?
Yeah.
There are very less times I go to drop my kid to school because I'll probably be busy working, right? So
Mm.
there are times when, if something happens, then you tend to blame yourself. Is it because I was not there for her? Is it
Correct.
because,
Mm.
so yeah, I get where she's coming from. You cannot be a full time mother and a full time working professional. You will have to pick and choose. At this hour I am a working professional, I'm not a mother. I have chosen this at this particular time, and at this hour I'm a mother, I'm not a working professional. So I get it
Mm.
that you will have to skip and miss things both sides spaces, where I think that's where she's coming from. For you now, now with this choice that you have made, what does the future look like for you? Because you always, we sort of paint a picture in our head, and you also had a picture of having a married and a kid and whatever the traditional conventional path. What does the future look like for you now?
Okay. So, like I said, like some few minutes ago, I hope my future looks exactly the way it is right now. Like, because I am the happiest right now. Like, I don't think I want to change anything. And that's one of the reasons I don't want to have a child. Like, is there something missing? Am I unhappy? Do you think that something adding on something else will make me more happy? None of those answers are yes. So I feel at this point of time, what I would like my future to look is 20 years down the line, me and Benji, old or not old, or sick or not sick or whatever, God forbid nothing, untowards happen. I'm just imagining it to be exactly the way it is right now. Like, I don't imagine anything else. Well traveled, seeing the world, probably, retiring happily, maybe in some retirement home. One of the things that we constantly have discussions about is, um, like, which cool retirement home can we go and settle down? I mean, we might still be in this house. There's a high possibility, but we still enjoy having those conversations. Having a community of really old people. That it is 30 years down the line, 40 years down the line, or 20 years down the line, how much ever it is, but having that community, having the best life that we have right now. So I feel like if we can replicate what we have right now is what would make me happy 20 years down the line. My personal goal is that, health wise, personal goal wise, ensuring that we're happy, traveled, all of that. If all of those things are happening 20 years down the line, I think I would be extremely happy.
More power to you. I hope your life turns out exactly how how you want. Okay, I think that's basically pretty much the end of it. I think before closing, I'll have some quick fire questions for you. So what are, the funniest or the most controversial, reactions or comments you have gotten with this?
I'm just thinking, should I say it or not? But yeah, I think it was once I had a relative of mine say to me that, ensure by the next year you have a child. Like, literally to my face. And my immediate reaction was, yes. I was literally like, what are you going to do about it? Like, how can you even say that to me is what was going through my head. But immediate reaction was like, yeah, sure. And I smiled. Like, 'cause I was really not into it. So I was like, okay, let it be.
No, makes sense. And what are your go-to statements if someone question you on your choice, on the
On my
delay or
choice.
whatever? Yeah. Do you have some quick comebacks?
Not anymore. I just say that, it's your personal choice. I think as long as the couple, like in my case, I would say couple, because I think most of the community that I am around are at least married or have a partner. As like, as long as it's your joint decision, I feel it's fine. Like, it should not be anybody else's decision. So I don't have any comeback right now. Maybe comebacks were many years earlier. As like, why are you bothered, or all of those things. I don't say that anymore. I be like, it's a personal choice. I think you should just accept it just the way it is.
That makes sense, to be honest. Like you said, pick your battles. You don't really want to,
Yeah.
pick everywhere. That was wonderful, Seth. It was really nice to have you. And I'm sure, I'm sure this would help a lot of women. Any final thoughts to the listeners, to people listening? Okay, any final thoughts before we
I
end?
think it was really nice speaking to you, Jazz. I feel like every time we go out, every time we go and sit and chit chat, I feel like it's like one of those times, frankly. Like, I think we have a lot to talk, and I feel like our perspectives are so different. And I feel like one of the things that I really enjoy while talking to you, I think that's probably going to come up in your upcoming podcast that you do also, that I feel we both have such mutual respect for our perspectives. Like, I feel a lot of people, like, with different choices. It could be something as silly as, I don't like this movie, I like this movie. I have this political thought, I don't have this political thought. So a lot of times it ends up being an argument, or it ends up being like you lose respect at some point of time. But I feel every time we've had a conversation, there are a lot of things that we don't agree on. But I feel like the amount of respect that we have for each other is too good. And I feel like hence the conversations are always so nice to have with you. And I love hearing your perspectives as much as, I like the way that you listen to me also. But yeah, on the child free aspect, just for closure, I feel like there is just not one way of doing things ever. Um, you just have to like think through, discuss, debate, listen to podcasts, probably listen to various perspectives and then make your decision. I feel like you just don't try to fit yourself into like one box and say that, okay, this is the only way that I need to live my life. And also be accepting of other people who decide to do that way. So I mean, I also struggle with it a lot. Like sometimes I feel like somebody's not doing it the way that I am doing it. I feel like, oh, I don't think that's the way you should be living your life. Or are you happy the way you're living? Like the immediate reaction is that, and then I go back and say that, okay, you just need to understand that there are various perspectives and that you don't need to be judgmental about how they live their life. So I feel it's just about accepting how people love to live their life and just be okay with it, and rest everything will fall in place.
No, I think same here, Seth. I think that's the society we need to try and bring in, right? Even between partners or even within a family, you have so many differing opinions. You can't have a world where everyone has the same opinion. I think the beauty of it is in listening to the other person, because there is always something you will take away and something that you will learn. And you can pick it up and apply in your life in a different format, right? May not
Right.
be the same way. So, and I think that's also why I wanted to have this conversation, because, like I said, I love being a mother, but at the same
Right.
time, I feel that people should be able to make that choice purposefully, right? So, and that's where I wanted to, bring your story to the audience, to sort of at least hear, a different perspective. And yeah, it's really nice. I've always respected you for the journey you have taken. I always I always respect people who are true to themselves, and I believe that is the most important thing. And I have seen you live that and break those stereotypes when you felt you didn't fit the mold, right? Like you said, you're not going about a journey that I want to break those stereotypes. You are just going about a journey of your life. And in that perspective, in that journey, you might realize that some molds are not meant for me, and that's fine, and that's totally okay to be. So yeah, I think it was great talking to you, and to everyone who's listening, all I would say is you do you. Don't. It's not like don't care about the others. I would just say it's okay for others to have a differing opinion. Even I do this when maybe it's age or I don't know what. When people have a differing opinion, I am like, even when my family or anyone close to me gives me an opinion about even my kid, I try to not react, because I feel at the end of the day, everyone has the right to their opinion. But ultimately, it is up to you if you want to implement that into your life. So you still have that choice. I think that's what sometimes we forget, that, when someone close to you is saying something, you don't have to follow it. You can still listen to them. You can still give them that respect of having an opinion and hear them out. But you do you, right? At the end of the day, you have to live your life, no one else will. So on that note, we will wrap up the podcast. Thank you so much, Cefi, for your time. It was really, really wonderful. And thank you everyone who's watching.